What is going on, everybody? Forgot to come off mute there for a second. This is the Wednesday show, the show that you have all waited for all week long. I'm your host, at Mike Killy. You can find me on Twitter, and with me, as always, the one and only lone dog himself, Mike Rosando at Bonzo1273. You can find him there on Twitter. Mike, what's happening, my friend?
It is well, we had the day off on Monday. Most of us did, so it's Wednesday, as we all know. So we're a day deeper, as opposed to a normal work week where this would be Tuesday. We wouldn't all be sitting here, and we'd be kind of depressed because we still got days to go in the week. But I digress. It's Wednesday. Excited to talk some Browns tonight, as well as you are, and the draft machine is going to be going. You're Andrew Berry tonight, which is really exciting. I'm sure we'll get into Baker's surgery. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the crazy shenanigans of Malik McDowell earlier in the week.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And here we are. So I'm excited. How about you?
Oh, I'm really excited. I am really excited. I have been thinking about the draft this week, since I control the microphone now, and you will listen. No,
that is correct.
No, I'm excited about it. I think it's fun to dabble in these these type of I guess you could say little exercises in pretend land, because I've thought for a long time that I could draft better than many NFL executives. And I think the reason why is I have nothing to lose when it comes down to it. And I don't have to take into consideration anybody's feelings or like the players, their families, nothing. Just plug in the best player, the player of need in the time that we have to draft. That's it. And which is, obviously oversimplifying everything. But nonetheless, I'm excited to do this. And we got, so far we got Ms. Plugs in the house saying Baker did not mention anything about the Browns. No teammates. Wish him a speedy recovery. A little weird. I thought Baker had didn't he put something out on Instagram?
He did. And I'm trying to think of, I feel like I watched it like 4 days ago, but there was he had a theme to it, and I don't know why all of a sudden I can't remember what his theme was, but something like "I'm not done" or something like that. But yeah, did you see it?
Let me see if I can. I don't know if he's gonna play it or not. Let's see.
Surgery went great.
Oh, he's out of surgery. Here we go.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and hop into this.
Hey everybody, just wanted to check in. Surgery went great.
Can you hear this, Mike?
It was a complete success. Had a great medical team that took care of me, and
I
checked that box off to get this fixed, and now it's on the way to the road to recovery.
I'll recap it when it's done.
One of those steps to get back to my true self. This past year hasn't been very easy. A lot of stuff has gone down, and it wasn't easy on me or my family. So I appreciate everybody that's reached out, that wished me well and good luck on the surgery, all the prayers and everything. It definitely did not go unnoticed. So thank you. Thanks.
So real quick, basically, and this is for everybody. Mike can't hear it because I'm not pushing my audio back through Zoom. What Baker was just saying there, Mike, was that he's thanking everybody for all the well wishes, and he said that it's been a really tough year, and I think he was kind of acknowledging some of the drama and some of the things that were going on. I guess throughout I'm speculating here, but probably from locker room stuff and the Odell stuff and the fans booing and all that kind of stuff. Let me finish up the rest of it.
Thanks to everybody that's helped out so far.
Saying thank you to everybody who's helped him.
Now it's on the way to the road to recovery. It's not going to be an easy one, but it's going to be one that I'm going to remember, and it's going to be a special one. So we'll keep you guys updated. Thank you so much. But this is not the end of my story. It's just going to be one of those little things that I'll look back and remember that
That's
it's
what it was.
one of those challenges that in adversity that I'm going to.
And in Instagram's video, it's just not playing anymore.
Good success.
Hold on, I want to see what he says here.
Check that box off to get this fixed, and now it's on the way to the road to recovery. This is one of those steps to get back to my true self.
Get back to my
this past
true
year
self.
Hasn't been very easy. A lot of stuff has gone down, and
So he says this last year has not been easy. A lot of stuff has gone down.
It wasn't easy on me or my family.
Wasn't easy on him or his family.
So I appreciate everybody that's reached out. And
he wanted to say he appreciates everybody who's reached out. So, yeah, I mean, I would have to speculate that it's related to Steve T. What's going on? I would have to speculate that's related to the drama that surrounded the team this year, and probably because when he's talking about, like, if it's just talking about him, then I would assume it'd be like the football related stuff. But when he said like it's impacted his family, that's the part that I'm not sure what he means.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with Mids in the chat saying, he hasn't seen any teammates wishing him well. I haven't looked in a while. I browsed it. I listened to it when I had a moment today, and that was the majority of my Twitter surfing today. But
so there was, I did notice one. Greg Newsome said praying for you, brother. But who was he praying for? Malik, or was he praying for Baker? Was he praying for OBJ? Like, well, who was he praying for? He didn't say anything.
Yeah,
and some guy EBC Sports Talk says you suck, Greg.
and it's a lot of times, fans have a hard time, and I'm not saying anybody, in the chat, that I'm just generalizing this, but, sometimes fans have a hard time dealing with the, no mention of the Browns anywhere, no Browns garb, in the, in his little, how I'm doing, Instagram post. But that's typical. These guys, it's a job. So, if you work in an office building and you're wearing a 3-piece suit 5 days a week, you're not going to come home on Saturday and get back into that 3-piece suit. And it's the same thing with these players. The 3-piece suit is just anything that has Browns on it. So, I don't find it odd that he didn't mention the Browns or wasn't wearing anything Browns. In the video.
He always wears weird hats and stuff like that say weird stuff, like the Cam Wood hat that he's wearing, which is is that like his family's?
I don't know what that is. I used to know, but I don't know.
I think it's his. I could be totally off base here, guys, so don't quote me on this. But I thought it was like maybe his family's financial investment company.
We're gonna have to Google this.
Maybe I don't know if like they're just like investing his money or like what's going on with it, but he's wearing it. And he also
we're gonna have to look into that.
He also tweeted it out, and he got a lot of support on Twitter. A lot of quote retweets, people like getting cute with it. I'll go ahead and retweet him just so I can be on record.
There you go.
I tweeted out prayers to him earlier today, and I thought it did fairly well.
At the end of the day, whether you like him or you don't like him, he's a human being. So he went through a tough time. No matter how not very good that he played, you do have to respect the fact that he gutted through a whole season with basically his arm hanging off. I mean, for all intent and purpose. So you have to. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go, and I'm sure it didn't go the way that he wanted it to go, or the team or the coaches or the front office, etc. But, like I said, at the end of the day, he puts his pants on the same way that we do, and he hurts the same way that we do. So, you just, you wish him well. And you and I have talked about it many times on this show. I still believe that, unless something, pops up out of nowhere where there's a deal for one of the aforementioned that we've had, that we talked about previously, barring something like that, yeah, I think they run it back and it's the same deal and you see what you get, but I mean, there's really no other options to be quite honest with you. And everybody, we've talked about Derek Carr, et cetera, or whatnot. I mean, you look at Derek Carr against the Bengals. I mean, he played well, but I mean, he's got Waller and Jacobs and we'll throw the running back away because I mean we got our own horses, but from a receiving standpoint and his tight end might as well, he's in the conversation, top 4 in the league, Darren Waller. So
sure.
he had weapons and he struggled too, and he still not has won a playoff game. So it is what it is. I've heard today, I don't know if you saw, Mike, there were some rumors that Justin Fields could be a trade bait kind of, dangle the carrot. I don't know if that's something that the front office would be interested in, but it was something that was thrown out there earlier. Not to say Browns related, but just throwing it out there that some believe that that he may be a little bit of trade bait. So we'll see.
I think there's going to be some crazy stuff going on. Really quick as well. Just want to say hi to everybody in chat. Cruz Op, Steve T, Mike R, Larry Kerr. Who is that guy?
I don't know.
Steve Hayslip. What's going on? My dad's here. Mids plug. Obviously, we said hi to him earlier. Mr. Bsif. Yeah. So just
Baker's on my shoulder.
Baker's up there. I think I mean we could go round and round, and I think we have. I don't think Fields has been somebody we've talked about as a possible option. I think at this point, I think honestly, if we traded for Fields, it would be a pretty significant downgrade, just based off of the experience alone. I mean, I don't see how you can take a team like this with guys who've been around each other for a long time and then throw in a guy like Justin Fields who, didn't have, a incredible season by any means. I think he's talented, just like I think Trevor Lawrence is talented, but they both had pretty bad seasons.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it was, I mean, not that our guy had that many more, but I think Fields had like seven touchdowns, 10 picks, but the big number that stuck out was 12 fumbles. So
yeah, and I mean he had a lot of yards on the ground too, but I don't think Justin Fields is a guy who's gonna be like a Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, like who's gonna be. I mean, I think he's fast. I think he can move. I think he's hyper athletic, but I don't think he is the type of guy who's gonna take over a game with his legs. I think he's kind of somewhere in between, and based on what I saw last year, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's if Harbaugh goes there and gets a hold of him, I would be surprised if Harbaugh wants a quarterback like that. I think he had Kaepernick once, did okay, but it didn't work out. I'd be surprised, but who knows what's going on with the Bears? I think the Bears are they're in flux, as they seem to always be. But I don't know. I mean, what surprised me last week with the mock drafts that we did, whereas Baltimore taking, a quarterback in the first round. If Baltimore's really going to take a quarterback in the first round, that's not a 70% running quarterback, that would completely change their offense. So maybe they're ready to move off of Lamar, the MVP. Maybe. I think there's going to be some crazy stuff going on. I don't expect the Browns, though, to give up on Baker while he's rehabbing. And unless there is something that falls into their lap that is a clear 100% upgrade that gives us longevity through this window, meaning the next 4 to 5 years of play. And so who does that eliminate? It eliminates guys like Matt Ryan. So guys that are up there in age that aren't going to give you 4 to 5. You know, they're going to give you maybe 2. And so, but you have to get somebody that falls into your lap. It has to not only be a clear upgrade, but it has to be somebody who fits, you know, and everybody out there in the free agent, there's nobody out there in free agency that's going to be, that's the answer. Closest thing you could make an argument would be like Jameis, but even him, what he's done, like, has been questionable at best a lot of times, and he's coming off a major injury. So I think this is what it is. It is what it is, guys. Like I think a healthy Baker is a top 15 quarterback in the league. A healthy Baker, right?
That's the key. Can he stay healthy?
Mm.
Can he just trot out of bounds instead of putting his shoulder down? Can he throw an interception without, trying to, to be Ken Norton? Those are all questions I guess we'll get the answer to next fall.
Yeah. So that's the reality of what we're looking at. Unless something crazy happens, and crazy things do happen. Yeah. Crazy things happen in the NFL. But it will have to, like, Andrew Berry and his team are not dummies. That's the one thing that I know for sure. They may not always get it right with every pick or anything like that, but they're not dummies. And I think they're good decision-making humans. So that's where we stand. Somebody was asking if we saw, did you watch the Mary Kay interview?
Yeah, I was actually chatting with Reflog about it yesterday, actually.
Yeah. What'd you think about that? I only caught very small bits.
Yeah,
of it,
I mean,
so.
she's bullshitting. I mean, there's no kind way or, non-profane way to say it. She went on this, and he was good. I mean, and I was talking to him about this, but he stood his ground. Like it wasn't a fluff piece like, oh, Mary Kay's on, so we're gonna be all nice and rainbows and sunshine. I mean, it was a good interview, but what I found laughable, and that's what he and I were talking about, was, she went on this soapbox that, she blocks people that are, nasty to her or vulgar to her, that, she doesn't block anybody that, is just, having and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that, that she has a conversation with, or they just dislike what she has to say, but in a nice way. And I just laughed because, I mean, I have the screenshots, as and half the chat has seen them, and that's what I did, right? Yeah. I didn't like what she had said about Steve Wilkes. I didn't think it was tasteful, and I commented on it because the last time I checked, Twitter is a free speech place where I can go ahead and say, hey, you wrote an article, and actually it was an interview. You interviewed this guy, and I didn't think that you were fair with it. I mean, that's life. And yeah. And then, as we all know, she popped into my DMs asking me why I thought what I thought. And I said, hey, thanks for checking in. We could have a conversation. This is why I thought this. And she said something back to me. And then I went to respond, and I was blocked. And, so, don't, if you're going to go on a show and you're going to, try and quote unquote set the record straight, you usually can't set the record straight by starting it out, with a lie, which is what she did. And I challenge her to come on this show, right? Because what she said was not true. And, if she has 1,000 people blocked, if she has 500 people blocked, I'm pretty sure that there's many, many like myself that, I just had a question about, or I should say, I didn't like the way that she handled an interview. And that's my prerogative. If you put it out there. Now, in the same sense, I mean, sure, she could go ahead and block me too. But I mean, I didn't do anything to deserve a block. And I'll be honest, there's stuff that she does, put out there that I'd like to see, right? So, then I got to go over to my burner account to see what she had to say, and that's a pain in the ass. But it is what it is. But I encourage you guys out there, if you have some free time or whatever, to go check that interview out. It was pretty. It was a good interview. I mean,
Yeah.
She's a liar, but
Tim Zaylor, Mary, how's it going? Beast Grills in the house. Pressure Jones, what's going on? Steve Compton, Roger King, Larry Kirk. I don't know if I gave a shout out to Larry yet. Larry, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what I said to her to get blocked, but I mean, I feel like half the Cleveland media blocks me at this point. And what's Chubbo Ubba Hub is now 4-month member. Sarah's in the house. What's going on, Sarah? Sarah of Atlantis. Sarah, Thank you very much for their very kind comments on your podcast. That made my morning this morning when I was listening to that in the car with my daughter, and I was like, look, people like us. Gosh darn it, there are people out there that like our content. It made my morning.
And it did.
It did.
He messaged me right away.
I was like,
and it made mine as well. It was really cool.
That was great. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sarah. I appreciate you. And Sarah, we got to have you on the show. I didn't know you had your own channel or your own podcast. So now that I know that you're a fellow content creator, you and Squabble, we got to have you on the show to talk some Browns. So if you're open to that, Sarah, you have an invitation. But yeah, in terms of Mary Kay, I don't know. I mean, that's how I look at it. I feel like the traditional media beat writing type people are a dying breed. They don't necessarily matter. They get the majority of their content, by looking at Instagram stories and reposting them. I mean, if you look at the Browns beat writers, what are they doing? Oh, Emily Mayfield had a story, or Baker just tweeted this, or just had to put this on Instagram, and I'm going to put that on Twitter, and then I'll get 1,000 likes because I took something from Instagram and put it on Twitter. And that's that's the service they provide us. And I honestly could, okay. I didn't know if you had a comment there.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, and in her case, she is very close to D Haslam. So, that's not a secret. Everybody knows that. And, sometimes, the stuff that she writes or insinuates, if you will, that you have to think about it for a second and put your little critical thinking cap on, and you're like, did that come from D? Could have, right? If they want to get something out, how are they going to do it? They'll leak it to her. But it is what it is.
Well, and then you look at what Baker even said in his tweet and his Instagram post, about how it was a tough year. It was a tough year on him and his family. I mean, without even knowing what specifically he's referring to, he is confirming that things happened off the field that were difficult for him, right?
Well, I agree.
Which is kind of, confirming some of these, so to speak, potential. So it's not too much of a stretch for anybody, whether it's Mary Kay or you and I, to infer that what he's saying, which I did earlier when we played I'm like, maybe he's talking about OBJ, maybe he's talking about his dad's video, maybe he's talking about, maybe his relationship with Jarvis has changed. Maybe it's the lesser players who aren't named, who don't have their jerseys up there pre-made on, Fanatics, who are complaining. Like, who knows, right? But there was some related drama or something that had gotten to in his head and his family, which is quoting directly from him. that had impacted him. Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, and there's speculation abound, right? All over social media, and Twitter is a crazy cesspool of gossip and craziness. But if you look at the way the social media accounts, and when I say that, Baker and Jarvis and OBJ, all those guys, Newsom, Ronnie Harris, you name the gamut, right?
Mhm.
Before the season sort of started going south, and then the whole OBJ thing happened, etc. I mean, if you went back and looked through their social media, if Baker put a post out, I could guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, you would see a like by Jarvis, and you'd see a like by OBJ, and you would see a like by, somebody else, or, you would see comments by OBJ or Jarvis on Baker stuff, and vice versa.
Yeah, and it's
And
never anything like real substance either.
no, it's like, yeah, it's just like, subtle little things. Even if not for, the smoke come out of the nose emoji, like, and I don't know what you call that. I'd have to click on it, but that might be my homework after that description. But you know what I mean. So
I totally.
And that all stopped, right? It all stopped. Like you could go back and you could find, if you have enough time in your day, you could find where they were liking and they were commenting and they were liking, and then somebody put up the floodgate and nothing came through anymore. And
that's actually really interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and then on the flip side of that, you started seeing out of nowhere just excessive love for OBJ, for every catch, every throw, every time he ties his shoe. It's like, oh, prayers up to OBJ. Oh, OBJ is lighting it up. Oh, bullseye, whatever. You know what I mean? So it's, if you think about it, it is pretty obvious that there was and is a tension there between all of them. It's clear. I mean, it's clear as day. And if you look at somebody, I just saw it on Twitter. Somebody was, they took a screenshot because Zay Jones, I think it's a free agent or something like that, and he commented on, get well, Baker, or whatnot. But it was ironic because if you look at, this particular screenshot, there were several blue check marks that were saying, hey man, prayers up, glad everything went through, etc.
On the Instagram?
On the Instagram. And
just
it
to
was
give you a couple of them.
Yeah.
Donnie Namias, I don't know who that is.
I have no idea.
Nick Merckx did. I'm a big Nick Merckx fan, so that was awesome that he.
Well, what I found funny is it was like the snippet that I saw, it was like a country music star, Mark Wahlberg,
Nick Merckx,
and some other guy that if you said his name, I'd say, yeah, that guy. But point being,
Jason
is nobody is going to his birthday party.
Christian Kirksey did, but he's not on the team anymore.
He's not on the team. So it
yeah, you're right.
It's very, very peculiar. There's definitely something going on. And as much as I would love for Jarvis to come back, that ship has sailed. It not only for the, fractured relationship, because it is, but obviously the money. They're not going to come to an agreement on the money. So he's as good as gone. But I think that, yeah, it's interesting. And nonetheless, we'll see how the offseason plays out, and we'll see what it looks like. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's still guys that are pro Baker in the locker room. I mean, there's no question. It's just that there's only a select few, if you will.
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of these guys. I don't Delino to Shields.
Now talk about from my neck of the woods.
Blast in the blast.
That's a Delaware baseball star.
Delino, I remember him from back in the day. Quite the infielder. Nick Merckx, Jason Day, the golfer.
Yeah, that's who it was, the golfer.
Johnny Gray Music. I don't know who this dude is.
So has your little eye spied one Browns player yet?
Marky Mark. Zay Jones. I don't know who Lonnie Paxton is. Dog check himself. I'm not seeing a Browns player.
Yeah, scroll a little bit long, a little bit more, just a minute.
I'm trying to think if there's. Usually they bubble up the blue checks.
Yeah, so like you would have seen one, but you would have seen one.
Yeah, they would have been there.
Not a one.
It's weird.
And I mean, you've been scrolling.
It's weird. I'm telling you, it's weird.
Oh, it's as weird gets.
Yeah, and I don't.
I
don't get it. I mean, like, let's say that you weren't. Let's say that you don't like him as a player. You don't want him to be your coach. Like, you could always be like, "Hey, man, I hope you heal good."
Yeah, and Chubba Wubba in the chat said, isn't that something his teammates would do privately? And I'm sure they would. I mean, absolutely. But this whole thing is a game, and
public relations.
Yeah, they definitely would have reached out, via Twitter, the ones that were Instagram. I mean, who the active ones are, and you don't.
Yeah, on Twitter too. I mean, at Twitter there were so many replies, so many everything on Twitter, and I think a lot of people just probably some of them just avoid it altogether. But I mean, that would be disappointing. I'm a little, I don't know, like I'm a little disappointed that. But I was disappointed all season that there weren't people that were coming out supporting the guy.
But I think. And we'll never know. I mean, I've gotten bits and pieces here and there throughout the season, talking to the folks that I know that are in the know. But the one thing that we'll never definitely know is, we see, the funny guy in the commercials, and we see the guy that, says everything right, in when he, for the most part, but when he's, out on camera, etc. And so you don't know, what he's doing in the locker room. You know what I mean? Like there could have been, deep, things that we have no idea that were going on, that maybe even some people in the locker room wouldn't even know was going on, but there was something going on. And the one thing we'll never find out is who are the guilty parties and who are not the guilty parties. But all we know, right, from the evidence is, and I think it's our motto for this, is something is weird.
It is weird. And I think when you think about because Baker and those guys and anybody at that kind of marquee name level isn't going to care what, the backup or third string defensive tackle has to say. They don't care. But if it's between the leaders of the team, which are Baker, Jarvis, Odell, silently, but Odell, Miles, right? I would assume Denzel is in that category as being the marquee type guys. And if you break down some of the things that have come out about the offense and defense not being on the same page, that means there could have been some stuff between the defensive leaders and the offensive leaders. And then you have the stuff that went down between, clearly there was something with Baker and Odell. And somebody made a good point on Twitter and about the whole stuff that was going on with it, where if you look at Baker's comments after the Odell situation, he was like, look, I still haven't talked to him. I wish him well. I consider him a friend. I hope everything's good with him. I'm not sure like what happened here, but with this situation, but I don't hold it against him. Like, he was saying all the right things publicly, right? And I think that is taking that. He took the high road on it after getting thrown under the bus, dragged through the mud by the media. The media loves that stuff. The media couldn't get enough of it, right? It's like it continued on through, it started with that and then went on to just every week bashing Baker no matter what, basically. So they loved it. And it, when you have that level of things being said, players see it and players start believing it. That's why, like, if you're ever in a company and you're working for a company and you have negative people, I mean, that negative stuff festers, and it one negative thing turns into, it can really poison the pool. And who knows, maybe that's what was going on. But Odell's gone. Like you said, it's likely Jarvis will be gone, right? And then on the offensive side of the ball, like who are the other leaders out there on the offensive side of the ball that would have a problem with Baker? Anytime you see them going out as a group, Kareem Hunt is there, David Njoku's there, Hooper's there, those guys. They seem like it's fine. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, winning cures all. And if Baker can come back from the injury and very quickly start winning in a way that's not like carried by the defense, just like consistently putting up good games, right? Yeah. Having some games where you throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and we win the game. That, to me, you have to have that consistency because there is a certain percentage of the fan base right now that is sold, right? That has sold completely. So meaning it doesn't matter what he does. It is, I am done and I've made up my mind. I don't want to root for this guy, right? And, everybody has the right to their own opinion. So if he goes out there and starts winning games, let me ask you, you being a fan, you being a heavily invested fan, both monetarily and with your time and season tickets, apparel, YouTube. I mean, like basically as much as you can physically invest as a fan / customer, if he comes out and they get off to a hot start and they're winning games, are you going to go, I still hate him? I don't. I mean, would your opinion change if he starts winning?
No, I mean for me, it's. I mean, I don't care if you're playing quarterback, right? I mean, that would be great, and I'd have field passes all the time. But the point being is
the old arm again.
Yeah, I mean, you get that thing stretched out, and away we go. But the point being is, I don't care who the quarterback is. I just want the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns to win football games. And, it's very easy to, let me see how I could put this. If you look at the tape from last year, let's say last year and then this year, right? He was not very good early last year. And then he turned it on in those last 8 games, and his stats were pretty good. Still missing guys here and there, but for the most part, he was putting the ball where it was supposed to be, and it was on time, etc. And then it's funny because after you messaged me last night and said you were watching film on Baker, I went back and watched a little of last year. The end of last year, And then I watched all the offensive series of all the games before. I guess it was 2 games before he got hurt, right? Against Houston.
Was it 2?
I believe it was, because it was Kansas City and then Houston, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I just put
Yeah.
a poll. Put a poll out there for everybody who happens to be in chat. I'm convinced it's very split. So I'd like to see like where everybody stands. You know, if you support Baker, you don't support Baker. So go ahead and start voting in that, please.
So, and then even if you watched some of the games after, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was watching the Cardinals game. I mean, there were shades. I mean, he was dealing, right? It wasn't until the bone, when it almost all came out of the socket, and then it just got progressively worse. So, could you? I mean, if you look at the tape, I mean, he sometimes he has trouble coming off his first read, and he wants to push the ball in places that it shouldn't be, and his decision making is suspect a lot, right? I mean, we know that, but
he also has had a lot of drop passes.
Yeah, no,
He's a victim.
he has.
I think a lot of times of the play calling that happened this year.
But I think that you have to wonder, and I think this is why they'll just bring him back on the 5th-year option. And I don't think they're gonna deal him or draft somebody. I think they're gonna bring him back. And the way he was playing, and I said this to you guys, to all of you guys, I think it was last week or the week before when I went back and watched, from the injury on, especially after the Pittsburgh game. And I mean, it was atrocious, right? I mean, the Green Bay game, atrocious. And so you wonder, right? Is there any merit to the fact that the guy was so banged up and dealing with so much BS, right? That it was affecting the way that he was thinking, and it was affecting the way that, nobody knows what kind of pain he had in his arm and in that shoulder as the weeks progressed, especially after the when TJ Watt, basically took it out of the socket when he fell. It just, he's been bad at times, but he's never been that horrible. So and again, I mean, we could speculate all we want. I mean, it doesn't mean squat what we think. It matters what the front office thinks. But there's part of me that wonders, hey, maybe all factors involved caused the horrible play that we saw towards the end of the season. Maybe that's what it was. So, I mean, to your point earlier, I agree with you. If he's healthy and can stay healthy, he's a top 15 quarterback in the league. I don't disagree with that. It's just he keeps getting hurt too, and that's the thing that we kind of forget about too. Like it's nothing. It's not the big stuff like the shoulder, but he has gotten hurt since his rookie year and has dealt with some stuff. But to end my long-winded rant, I believe that they'll run it back. We talk about this all the time, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. They're going to run it back, and you're going to see right away, right? He's going to come into camp healthy. He's going to come into camp with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to come into camp with a top 14 wide receiver. He's going to come into camp with all his tight ends healthy. He's going to come into camp with his offensive line healthy. He's going to, sans Conklin. He's going to come into camp with his running backs healthy. And he's going to come into camp with some free agent wide receiver or wide receivers that Barry is going to pick up in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then now there's no excuses at that point. We will know right out of the gate if he's the guy or not. And if he's not, then you're going to see we're going to draft somebody, or they're going to really make a push, and they won't care about the draft picks if they're, if they're trying to go get, one of the top 10, top 8, top 5 quarterbacks in the league. But I do think that we're going to see it again, and he's going to have everything at his disposal. And it's put up or shut up year, and we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and part of me feels like with Baker himself, he's the he thrives on the the underdog, the attention, the swagger that comes along with it. I mean, think about when he was winning Player of the Week, left and right his rookie year, when he's throwing touchdowns, he's out there just slinging it, and just out there firing the ball without hesitation and running downfield 20 yards, standing up and getting in the guy's face. I mean, this was the attitude that we had been lacking for decades, and we got it.
Yeah.
But I wonder, now that his play has been shaky, there are vocal doubters all over the place in the media, guys like Cowherd, and who has been critical at a national level. The local guys have been very critical, and he's hearing that stuff. And then you get the fans that are booing live in the stadium, and then you got the defensive players that, who knows, are, they get 4 interceptions in a game and then we can't win because we can't put up more than, 10 points and stuff like that. And I wonder how much mentally, because I feel like Baker's a very emotional guy, right? He's not Eli Manning. He's not a guy who's just even keeled no matter what, right? Joe Burrow's this way. Just, he has one gear. It's that. There's no excitement. He wins the national championship, and he's sitting there with no expression. He wins a playoff game, no expression. He loses. No, it's just that. Baker, he's jumping all over the place. He's looking up at the fans. He's doing the first down thing. I mean, he plays with a fire. And I wonder if some of that fire has been just, extinguished because of the negativity that has surrounded the situation in Cleveland. And then we will know quickly if he can get through that. And again, it comes down to winning, and it comes down to winning convincingly, because I feel like the momentum has shifted in the direction of negativity towards Baker for everybody outside of direct Cleveland. I think if you look at our poll right now, so let me go ahead and let's end the poll. It was at 73% or something like that. Close poll. 73% said that in here they supported Baker. 26 did not support the percent. Only 30 votes. It's fine. So it's a small sample size, right? But nonetheless, I think the majority of the Browns fans do support Baker. I really do, or support the idea that we want to have, that Baker represents in terms of being that leader for the team. And it's going to be, it will be interesting to see what happens. I do not expect, I'll go on record, I do not expect us to draft a quarterback early, somebody that will legitimately threaten Baker's job. I'm not 100% sure we're going to go out and get anybody. We're not going to go out there and get like a Mariota or Tannehill and just figure out which one of them earns the job. I think that could be a smart thing. I don't think that's what we will do. I think the plan will be Baker Mayfield will run, will be the guy. Case Keenum will back it up. And then we'll have a third string like Nick Mullins or something. I really do think we're going to run it back, and we're going to hope that he gets healthy. I really think that's the plan. Unless something happens that convinces me otherwise. Because
I mean,
look at the salary cap. Look at all the stuff around, right?
It would take something enormous for you to see him move. I personally believe like we're talking like, you know, Aaron Rodgers type of enormous, and it's not happening. So
yeah.
And you know, to switch gears, because I know you're getting excited. The one thing that I can say, and it's not going to change your mind at 13, but I think at 49 or whatever it is that we pick in the, I think it's 49 that we pick in the second round, you know, due to the I don't know what to call it, the incident earlier this week. You know, I wasn't expecting on a Tuesday afternoon, you know, to see a tweet come across my phone that says Malik McDowell was, you know, was running naked outside of a children's learning center. That was not how I thought I was going to. That wasn't the first Browns news that I was going to get, you know, to start my afternoon. But point being is now, you know, you are looking at, we're going to have to, I mean, defensive tackle, I think, was always on the wish list and high up there along with wide receiver. But I think now, you know,
the priority has shifted a little.
Yeah. Like if you were thinking, you know, hey, I'm going to go with, I don't know, Traylon Burks, and then, you know, come back and be able to pull a Dotson if he was still on the board, which I don't think he will. I think they're all going to be gone. But, you know, now that decision making changes, because now, I mean, you've got the guy and Elliott, right? Because I don't think Malik Jackson will be back. And obviously Malik McDowell is definitely not coming back. So
he'll be in the California Penal League.
The
Florida Penal League.
And I don't know what went on there. I mean, we could all speculate, but
I think,
you know,
I've seen enough mental illness in my life to recognize it.
Yeah,
and, it's
something's going on.
It's clearly he was definitely in some sort of manic state, and you know, the fact that he was naked, the fact that he had to be, you know, basically just complete strapped down to a you know,
I mean, it's obviously your first thought is, oh my God, here we go again. Why is it always somebody from the Browns? And then it's like, oh my God, like, what was he doing outside the kids center? And then you start seeing like the video, and the poor guy has no clothes on. They've got him, you know, on his belly, which doesn't bode well for, you know, and it's a shame. And obviously, to your point, that, you know, there's something going on, you know, mentally, and you know, I was having this conversation earlier.
Larry, thanks for renewing your membership. Appreciate that, buddy.
Nice. It's you know, it's always a football thing, you know, and you have to wonder, you know, if it's all the blows to the head, you know, CTE stuff, because, you know, you don't see this kind of stuff like in the NBA, you know, you just don't see it
anywhere.
No, I mean, you really don't.
You know, the only place where you see weird stuff like this, professional wrestling.
Right.
Where they're just getting pounded, you know, getting slammed down on their back, which is snapping their neck back and hitting stuff. And a lot of those guys die young, you know, they die very young. And, you know, you think, I hate to draw comparisons to like Kellen Winslow, but I mean, the type of stuff that guy was doing, I don't think Kellen Winslow is I think he's broken. You know, his mind is the CTE is gone.
And there's a lot of them. And not to,
watch that movie Concussion, it's just scary what those guys had to go through.
And you figure, you look at this situation, it's the worst case, in terms of, out in public and around the kids and whatnot. But, it doesn't have to be the extreme example like this. I mean, you look throughout, football and I mean, from Junior Seau, to I can't remember the fella that just passed recently, but another top name that, there's just something not right up there. And it, you have to point towards, the head trauma. I mean, these guys are bigger and they're faster. And I mean, you look back at the day, like, those crushing blows and whatnot. And I mean, there was a lot of it back then too, but imagine
Lawrence
back
Taylor.
then.
I mean, the kind of guy Lawrence Taylor is today.
Yeah.
I mean same thing. It's like,
that's another, he just got arrested again.
Yeah. He's a maniac.
Yeah.
And, and then you saw remember what Bernie was going through when he was getting pulled over and they thought he was drunk all the time. And, he was trying to say, no, I have like head injuries. And I still think Bernie just looks like a different human being right now. He's very, like, his body fat percentage looks very low, right? Doesn't he just look like a very stretched, thin version of Bernie? And I think
he's smaller.
Yeah, he's lost a ton. Like, after his playing days, he ballooned up and gained weight. And then I think he started getting treatment from a doctor down in South Florida. And hey, Blake, welcome. The newest member, Blake Vasco. Thank you very much for becoming a member, Blake.
Welcome.
And by the way, also Larry says, unless we get Wilson or Watson, they run it back. Anyway, we can go on and on for this forever. It's a very unfortunate situation with Malik McDowell, and I honestly wish him the best. And glad he didn't hurt anybody. I didn't see that he hurt anybody, and I honestly hope that they can fix him, because just as a human being, like, again, these are people just like you and I, right? They have very high profile jobs. They get paid. A lot of them get paid a lot of money, but if you really look at how it's all broken down between the agent fee and the taxes and management and all the different stuff goes into it, I mean, very few of them are making generational wealth that can never be lost, right? Yeah. And then the health that goes on top of that is really scary. So,
yeah, and moral of the story, it's unfortunate for everybody involved, and it's unfortunate for the team that we root for, because now, he was a promising piece, and now, that's gone for us, and for him, his career is probably, I mean, with his his previous history and the arrest record, and this was his.
He was on probation too, and. In another state that this is in violation of.
Yeah, so
it's over for Malik.
Yeah, it's sad, and you hope he gets the help he needs. But yeah, now we move on, and we're looking for a defensive tackle.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the mock.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike, as you head into the mock, right?
Okay.
So we really need a receiver at 13, right?
That's the plan going into it.
That's the plan, right? Now let me ask you this, and I like to ask the chat this as well.
Okay.
What if, right? What if there was a guy in this draft, right, that was Warren Sapp, right? Would you take him at 13? Or would you still go receiver? Just out of curiosity.
I mean,
you knew that he was going to be.
Oh, if you know he's going to be Warren, if you know he's a Hall of Famer, then yeah, you take him. Honestly, if there was a
The potential
well,
of a
potential's
Warren Sapp.
potential's big because I think any of these receivers have potential to be, guys that have very close comparisons to some legendary players as well in terms of their frame and size.
Yeah.
So would I take a defensive tackle right now? I don't think it's the most pressing position unless you can't go out and get anybody else. I mean, what if they brought back Sheldon Richardson?
Well, could you imagine if you were able, and hey, anything's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could find a diamond in the rough, but I mean, imagine, and I don't know why I brought up Warren Sapp, but one of the best defensive tackles.
I think it's probably because he slipped. He could have been a guy that they're thinking could have been like number 1 overall.
Yeah.
And then he kept going and going and going. And then the Jets went with Kyle Brady. And it's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And then, he goes to what, Tampa? And, was
the
a
rest
piece.
is history, as
was
they
a
say.
Super Bowl piece.
But I mean, that is, if you could argue, right? If you bring Clowney back, right? And you run it back with Clowney and Miles on the outside. If you were to hit, right, on a defensive tackle early in the draft, and I'm not saying 13 because I don't see it, but hey, stranger things have happened. But if they were able to find a way to hit on an absolute stud, like a defensive tackle,
like a JOK upside Kai,
like Barmore from right, isn't that his name? Barmore from New England. That disruptive, always in the backfield, always pushing the guards in the center around.
Mm-hmm.
This defensive line with those two on the outside, that would be devastating. I personally believe as good, if you look at, and we talk about this all the time, Mike, you and I, we talk about TJ Watt, right?
Yeah.
If we had a Cam Hayward, right, on the inside, would Miles be what TJ Watt is on every play? You have to wonder, because if you think about it, is anybody worried about Malik McDowell or Malik Jackson in the middle, or Jordan Elliott, or no, nobody cares about those two. But if you had a guy on the inside like Cam Hayward that you've got to account for, you would see that Miles would be roaming free a little bit more, like we do see. Why is TJ Watt always in the backfield? Why is he always in on every play? Well, it's because, he's got guys like Cam Hayward in the middle that are fabulous interior linemen that are always getting a push, and they're always, garnering an extra chip, or sometimes they're doubling them.
Yeah.
And it frees up guys like, in that case, TJ Watt. So, man, if we could only find somebody like that right out of the gate. And like I said, the kid from New England, I mean, he came right out of the gate as a rookie, and he was disruptive as all get out. So if you could find that kid in this draft early that could wreak havoc early, man, that defensive line, now all of a sudden that defensive line is not only getting pressure nonstop, but then you've got Denzel and Newsome back there, and you got Jock roaming around, JOK. I know everybody hates when I call him Jock, JOK. You got him running around, and then all of a sudden, the PFF number 7 defense in the league, number 5 in the in the AFC. I mean, now you're looking at like number 1 or number 2. So just a little food for thought before we draft.
I think you're right. I think that, but I will tell you this. I think it's very tough to find. I mean, out of all the seasons, out of all the teams, I mean, how many truly disruptive Hall of Fame level defensive tackles can you even name outside of the people that play for the Browns? Like Vince Wilfork comes to mind. It's like there aren't that many that are just that good. So if you could
Russell
find
Maryland back in the day,
remember Big Daddy for the Bengals, but everybody thought he was a sure thing. Turned out to be basically a bust.
I mean, you could go back to the 90, 89, 90 Eagles. I mean, back when they had Reggie White and Jerome Brown before he passed, and Clyde Simmons. I mean, those guys were elite. And then obviously the Cowboys went on their runs back then, but if Jerome Brown doesn't die, I mean, you don't know how that would have shaped the.
Well, look at this too. I mean, I think, like, I don't know where Jerome Brown was drafted, but you look at us, we've swung and missed. You remember Gerard Warren?
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember Phil Taylor? I should say Phil Dawson playing defensive line.
he might have been better.
Yeah, Phil Taylor. I mean, these are
Phil Taylor's on a podcast with one of the local kids. I can't remember who it is, but
Danny Sheldon.
You just made me. Yeah, Danny Shelton was another one.
I mean, how many defensive tackles have we whiffed on? I loved all three of them. I was happy with all three of them, but we whiffed on them. So I think that's a very difficult position to gauge success with, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Let's get into it. Let's see what happens. Let's see where things shake out. Let's go ahead. We're gonna fire up for 2 rounds. I've selected the Browns. We're gonna change it a little bit. So I think I had last time like all care for position, all like no randomness, draft for. So I had it very dialed in, which is why twice in a row we were able, once I screwed it up, we were able to go back and replicate it. So let's go through. Let's go.
That might have been the best / worst moment in the Wednesday show history.
Wednesday show history?
Like forget about we. I mean, I was Andrew Barry and I was wheeling and dealing. We brought the deal. But we brought the Wednesday
show to its knees.
It really did.
For about 35 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, it was, we're gonna have to, as we go along, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to snip it just that like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then when we do these drafts, like right before we pick, you just got to play the clip.
Oh, no, what happened? Okay. All right. So we're in the draft. We've got somewhat slow speed. Well, I want to go. I could force trades now. Do we want to jump up to number 1, John?
No, there's nobody up there.
Let's go ahead and start the draft. Boom. Okay.
Here we go.
Thibodeau. Hutchinson. Sting. Hamilton. Evan Neal. Let's go ahead and pause for a second. So I think these are the clear top 5 that I've seen in a lot.
Yeah.
Kuiper, all these guys are saying, and it could go and, you could have a pick here and there that are different. Yep. And you could have guys that jump up and make trades to get up there for whatever reason too. But I would expect, because the quarterback position isn't the hottest thing in the world, I would expect that there's not going to be a lot of trade. What do you think?
I don't know. I believe that by the time, I'm laughing at Eatman continually didn't make the playoffs as if his team didn't get boat raced in the first game of the playoffs.
Participation trophy.
Yeah, but it is what it is. So anyway, I guess the moderator can. Do we have a moderator to take care of this of the spamming going through the?
Oh yeah, I can. He did make the. Yeah, I can take it off.
So. Yeah, I lost my. Yeah, I lost my train of thought while I was. I mean, who comes into the chat and just throws a whole bunch of those? I mean, hey, more power to you, I guess. But
what a dork.
Anywho, what the hell was I saying?
We were talking about just moving up for quarterback, or if anybody's going to really jump up and steal one of these like Kyle Hamilton type guys.
Yeah. So the one thing that I'm starting to see in some of these mocks, because I have ESPN Plus, so I saw Kuiper's whole mock and stuff. I mean, he's a guy that he's very high on Malik Wills, right? His last name Wills or Willis
From
Liberty, right? And there's a Liberty
yeah,
kid. Yeah. He's high on him, and he doesn't think that he
doesn't have 100% track record of picking
no,
quarterbacks either, though.
Absolutely not.
Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, exactly. He believes that he may not make it out of the first round. I do believe, and I think we talked about it last week, I do believe that you're going to see one, if not two, that are going to go a little bit earlier, maybe trades to get up there, only because there's some teams I think that, what are you going to do? Like, even though this isn't an elite, if you will, quarterback class.
Sure.
If you need one, you got to go and you got to get who you think is the best that can run your franchise. So, I like Kenny Pickett. I like what I've seen on film. There's some stuff that you don't like. Matt Corral, he's like 6 foot, and I
6 foot, and he blew out his knee.
Yeah, and so I don't think when you get to the combine, like if you're pimping 6 foot, then you're really like,
and that's, I mean, Baker
5'10",
and Baker was measured at 6'1",
right?
Somehow,
right. So that if they're pushing him at 6 foot, that means he's going to get to the combine and he's going to be like 5'10", right?
I mean, 2 inches.
I don't know, 5'11" maybe.
I'd say 5'11's realistic. Could be.
But how much of the difference from 5'10" to 5'11"?
Not when you got 6'9", like left tackles.
Falala there is right. It wasn't he the 6'9" guy?
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like I'm like 5'9". And
yeah, that's me. Yeah,
we're both about 5'9". You look at a guy who's 6'9", they look like they're 10 feet taller than you, right? So
oh my god, yeah.
So and you can't. It's a problem.
One of the most awkward conversations you can have as a average heighted guy like ourselves is with like an extremely tall person, because literally, like, I have to get into position. You know what I mean? Like when you have those conversations, like you sort of have to like lean back and like then you're in it.
Yeah.
Like you can't just sit there and like start trying to have that conversation, because it's almost like, you're 4 years old, you're holding a lollipop and you're trying to talk to Santa, right? Like it just, anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, it is something that they look at. And I think that I would be very surprised if we go into a rough situation with a short quarterback again. I need 1 minute. So handle the calm.
I will take us over.
I gotta check what's going on in the background just to make sure the house isn't on fire.
Oh boy!
Just give me 30 seconds and I'll be right back. I'm not on the clock yet. So
no, you're not on the clock. I'll hold down the fort for you while you're gone. But so Coach Stefanski's in the chat. I like it. Measured Baker at 5'11". Although I think he did come in at 6 foot, and someone in the chat, you can go ahead and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but he's back. Nothing's on fire. He can't hear me yet. Nothing's on fire.
Nothing's on fire. He just he stubbed his toe. So
all right. So everything's all right in the world.
Everything's good.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
I don't even understand how. I feel like we're controlled by we're in a simulation. I really sometimes believe that, but that's as far as I'll go because I don't want to get any hate. But point being is, Laura and I were talking yesterday. There was one of those what are the truth posts? What is the name of that? When I don't know why I can't think of it.
What, the QAnon?
The fun fact, or you know what I'm talking about, with the where it's like anyway, it said that in 20 years ago that you had 17 minutes to escape a house fire. They said now in today's world, with the materials they use to build the home and the materials that they use to build all the furniture and stuff, that now you have 3 to 4 minutes to get out. I thought that was pretty interesting. And being part of a house fire years ago, I lived in a townhome and the house over went up like an inferno. Frightening experience. But wow. I digress, and we'll get into the draft.
Yeah, well, if I don't even know if my dad's still in the draft, because I think he's going to light us on fire. The last thing I saw him say was draft.
Oh no, did he?
Yeah, he said draft. That was
I didn't even see that. My God,
that might have been like a half hour ago though.
He's probably tucked in by now. He's going to kill us.
He'll watch the VOD, I'm sure, and skip through. Okay, so let's continue on. So we've got some pretty standard stuff. I don't feel like moving up yet.
Yeah. And to answer your question, I do think in real life we'll probably see some people.
There may be. Let's see, we've got.
Are you going to make a trade, Mike, or should I say? Killaberry?
Oh my gosh. Look at this. Atlanta taking Matt Corral at 8.
That's not going to happen.
Now Matt Corral, hey, I mean, anything is possible.
I don't know if it was Kuiper's mock. It must have been, because I think that was the only one. Well, I looked at a couple times. Anyway, long story short, they had Pittsburgh taking Matt Corral. I don't think he's going to be that good personally, but that's just me.
I think the size is, like we just talked about, is kind of a problem. I'd be surprised if they would pass on the University of Pittsburgh kid for Matt Corral. I would be Corral, I guess that's how he pronounces it. I'd be very surprised by that move. But the Falcons, that would be more of something that I would have thought that they would have gone wide receiver to have, before you make your change. At quarterback, you can grab another wide receiver and have them grow for a year or two. And then when Matt Ryan's officially ready to hang it up, then you draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's like the Falcons, they're a weird team. They'll win 12 games and the next year win 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are weird. So like next year they could be a Super Bowl contender just randomly.
Out of nowhere.
Out of absolutely nowhere. So it's a weird pick. Let's see. This is where it starts getting interesting with the wide receiver situation. So like if I was like in love with one of the wide receivers, you got to start thinking about possibly jumping now. Because in the other mocks, you saw Denver taking wide receivers.
Which is peculiar to me, because I think if there's no Rodgers magic, which, we've heard, that back and forth. And I do believe, and I could be misspeaking here, but I'm pretty sure that they told the Manning group that they were the winner of the bid, I believe.
Oh, really?
For the Broncos. My friend told me that yesterday, and I didn't.
So is Elway going to stay on then?
That I don't know. And I don't even know if
his track record for quarterback has been pretty bad.
Did you see the chat?
I missed it.
You don't see, take a peek in there.
Judy Patrick?
No.
Oh, you're on my clock. My dad is there. He's like, come on, pick. Okay. I think just what I was going to say about Denver. I think Denver is probably in the Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweepstakes here. I doubt they would go with Corral just because, they have a short quarterback, with, I don't think Drew Lock's the biggest guy in the world. So like, I doubt they would have gone with Corral, but let's see what the Broncos do. Who knows? It could come down to, look, I have the full pick of the litter when it comes to wide receivers.
Yeah.
So let's see what they do. Doodle-doo, doodle-doon-doon-doon. Garrett Wilson. There you go. It's gone. Okay, so one down. Okay, now it's starting to get interesting.
I just don't see. I just don't see the Broncos going for. Oh, yeah. You know what? I've seen Drake London to the Jets. That was in Kuiper's draft today, actually.
Okay, so he was the guy that you would have had to talk me out of him.
So you're in on Drake London?
I am. I'm in.
Really?
I the size.
It's the injuries that I don't.
Yeah, but
I don't
DK
like.
Metcalf had like what broke his back. Like, I mean, DK is a freak, but you know, I think that size is important. So he's gone though. So nonetheless, now we got. Holy crap! What if Olave's gone? This is now we are in danger zone.
Well, it's funny because this week's Mike, I think I would be. Well, go on. I don't want to.
Well, let's see where we get to. We're getting close.
I'm surprised you didn't try and move up.
There's Pickett. He's gone.
Yeah,
So,
I could see the Redskins in business.
I could see that. Or I guess it's gonna be the Commanders has been leaked.
Yeah, or the Admirals, something.
The Admirals. They should have just gone with like the Red Storm or something like that. Or,
Yeah.
or like. Anyway, I would have liked the Reds if they would have said the Redskin potatoes. You know,
I like the Red Tails. I thought that was cool. I thought they could have done so much with the airplanes and stuff.
Or honestly, like Cincinnati, just be the Reds.
Yeah, or just be the Reds.
Or just the Skins.
Like,
Just
why do you got to be like the Commanders? Like,
honestly,
I mean,
they could have just been the Skins, and then it would have been like it's everybody has skin. It's just we are the skin, and it could have been like, well, it's a skin from a potato, or it's a skin from a mongoose, or a grizzly bear. It's just skin. It's literally we're just the skins. You know, like Buffalo Bill, like human wearing human skin. It could be whatever you want. Just let your imagination run riot. As long as you don't apply a color to it.
A little Hannibal Lecter, you're going there.
Then you're going. Yeah. All right. So the W team, whatever they happen to be, takes Pickett, and one more till we're on the clock. Okay. The center out of Iowa is gone. Now, let's take a look at what we have on the big board. Well, I don't think we need a corner. I think going corner, although he's good. I think the only corner I would have been like really like, holy crap, if that guy drops, would be Stingley, right?
Garrett Wilson's already off the board, right?
He is at 9.
Interesting.
So he's gone.
That's never going to happen. He's not going to the Broncos.
No.
So for all intent and purpose, he should still be there, but he's not, and we'll have to deal with that. But
so here we go. Now I'm going to go into the positions of need.
Okay.
So you've got Jameson Williams with the knee issue. Olave, who's ready to rock. No problems. Dotson, who's there as well. I also want to bring up another. This is one of the websites that I've been looking at as well in terms of wide receiver. There's London, Garrett Wilson, Jameson Williams. And then this is just what I like to see. This is why I like this one, because you got the weight, the height, the 40. Okay. I like the 210 and 6'5". I think 6'5", 210 is great.
And he is fast for
what 4'4"
size, but
4'8" is fine. I mean,
oh yeah, you know what? I saw something today where, and I don't know. I mean, I assume it's true, but that Cooper Kupp runs a 4.62 or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean Jarvis in his combine ran like a 4.7.
Yeah,
you know there are offensive linemen running faster than Jarvis, so it's not all about that. So, to me, I think he's it. But then you've got, Olave there at 6'1".
Well,
and Jameson Williams is there at 6'2". He's just, they both weigh the same.
I think if you like,
and then you got Treylon.
Yeah, I'd say if you're looking for for a size receiver, then you don't even have to think that hard. You're going to go with Treylon Burks.
Yeah, I think but there's a difference between 6'3" and 6'5".
Oh yeah.
Treylon Burks is 6'5". Yeah, I would take him.
But you look at here, let me intrigue you with this, right? London's 6'5", 210, and runs a 4.48, right?
Yep.
Burks is 6'3", runs a 4.45, and's a tank at 225. So
yep,
they're almost you're what you're losing the 2 inches of height is what you're gaining in some mass and a little bit more speed. So I can, yeah, I would, yeah. I mean, if I were you this week, which I'm not, the only thing I could do is encourage.
Yeah.
And so if you went around the war room, I would definitely be Treylon Burks right now. But this is your decision.
I'm honestly very interested. I mean, he's on the list. He's definitely there because, unfortunately, for Jameson Williams, who if at this point, if he might have been the one who would have gone first, and we would have had the pick between Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Treylon Burks. If in this situation, I am leaning Treylon. I like the size. I like the weight. 4-star recruit coming out of high school. Let's take a peek. Let's see if we can get into his profile a little bit more, so we can learn a little bit more together about Treylon. He's a junior, so he's not, he's an old guy, which is something that we need. We need youth at this point. They have his hands at an 80%, short receiving high, intermediate routes high, deep routes way high. Blocking needs to improve. Okay. Treylon Burks is a 4-star out of Warren High School, Arkansas, where as well as setting receiving records, also played baseball and basketball at a high level. I like that. He's athletic. Freshman, blah, blah, blah. Burks getting national attention. Strengths. Could easily adopt a role akin Deebo Samuel in San Francisco. I like that comparison a lot.
And that is not that. And you know what? Your site is not the first site where I've seen that. Like that has been a reoccurring trend since I've been sniffing around through draft reports. And that is literally who. And I have to tell you, Mike, if you think about it, it makes sense because he's got size, he's got the mass, 225, and he runs a 4.4 what? What do we say, a 4.44 or 1 4.41
4.45?
Yeah. So
let's take a look at Olave.
I have an interesting thought on him too. After you get through what you get through.
Yeah. So Olave, he's a much more well-rounded type overall rating as per NFLDraftBuzz.com. I'm more interested in his kind of weaknesses because does not always use his hands to secure deep throws. Okay, line the ball, hit the pads. Same thing as they said for Burks. 6'1", 189. Olave's game lacks the physicality, consistently win on the outside. That's a problem for number one who can't consistently win. Was only ranked as the 68th best receiver in his class out of 339 in the nation coming out of high school. I'm not super concerned about that. Doesn't always make as much yardage after the catch. That's kind of a problem. And doesn't have the size to consistently win outside. So, I mean, again, I'm focusing on the negative because I think he's got a lot of positive stuff as well. Very good hands and so I think slightly better speed, right? I think here I'm leaning Burks. Unless you can talk me out of it.
Who is his comp? Just out of
They
curiosity.
didn't say that. I was looking for one too here.
So I've been doing some thinking on this since last week. And what I find interesting, right? So you've got Olave and you've got Garrett Wilson, right? And Olave was the name and he puts up good numbers, but then Garrett Wilson came storming out of nowhere and was a monster, right? So you could argue he was head and shoulders above Olave, right? You could make that argument.
Who, Wilson was above Olave?
Yes.
Okay.
Then you can then also make the argument that you take Jackson Smith-Njigba and you say, hey, guess what? It's plop, you're the number one. And then he goes off for, I don't even remember what it was, but like 19 touchdowns and 670 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see the talent in him. You see the talent in Wilson. Olave is very talented. There's no question about it. But is he even as good as the other two receivers on the team? Is he even as good as Marvin's son?
I don't know. That's why.
So
again,
that's where I after doing some soul searching, I thought, man, I don't know if you could go Olave that early.
Okay, so this is what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking that similarly to you with the Chargers, where you drop back to the Chargers, I'm thinking I'm going to drop back as well, because I could be happy with, honestly, with if we drop back to 20, which I'm not going to trade with the Steelers, but if we drop back to 20 and I ended up with Jameson Williams, fine.
All right,
I'm
you're okay with it.
Now I want to look at the second round, because that's really the kind of critical thing. I want to have a pick that's up there in the second round, because you got 49 in the second.
Last week we had 17, 45, and 49.
Yeah, I think you could get up to, I don't think I could trade back with the Dolphins to 26. I think they're all going to be gone at 26. I don't know. I think I could trade back. Where are the Saints? The Saints are at 18, and they also,
you figure the Eagles are going to take.
They got 50.
I think. I don't think the Ravens take a receiver. They just took Rashad last year. Mm-hmm. I do think the Eagles are in business for a receiver, being that they have 3 picks. So I think that your only competition there would be one of the Eagles picks. And I think we had that same conversation rather, I think last week as well.
Because then Eagles in the second round, though, if I want to come back for the second, the Eagles would have to pick 51. So I can get the Chargers 49. I think that might be actually the best combo there.
See if you could do it. Wheeling and dealing.
So let's see here. Let's try to trade. We're gonna trade with. I honestly, I'm gonna drop back to the Chargers as well. Where is LA? I'm gonna ask for 1749. And what did you got? 1749 and what? And like 119 or something, or 158?
Yeah, I think it was. I didn't write it down, but it was. Yeah, it was. I think it was 119. No, it couldn't have been. I think it was 158.
Yeah, so I think I can get 158, and then I'm gonna ask for a fourth next year as well.
I mean, you could try for 119. I don't know if they'll do it. But.
That's a lot. I mean, I could, but I don't want them to be like, "Nah, I'm not gonna take that." And then I'm out. Then I'm out.
You're in the driver's seat. I'm just a
I'm going to ask for a little bit more. I'm going to ask for a little tiny bit. I'm going to offer the trade and see what happens.
All right.
They did not accept that. So they don't like the 4th round next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go for 119 then. Actually, we got 4 attempts. Let's go for 81. Nope, they didn't like 81. All right, 119. Nope, 158.
Oh man,
they don't like 158 either. Now they're offended.
They're stingy.
All right, just give me.
How about you got to go 211?
I'm going to go for 195, and if I don't take it, I'm going to make a deal. I'm going to make a deal with. I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to go 211 just to solidify it. They didn't take it. They don't want to move.
That's it.
They don't want to move. All right, so
I'm
out of attempts with the Chargers. They got stingy last week. They were like wheeling and dealing. This week
they were wheeling and dealing. This week they said I don't think so.
So now, the next partner would be the Saints, who pick. It would be one less. So let's try the Saints.
I think they may be in a receiver business, but we don't know.
Oh, I can't trade anything. It's saying there's no attempts to with any trade partner.
Oh man, that's the end.
That's it. So now I gotta take my pick and then try to maybe move up to get something else.
I mean, that's BS.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
I can't make a call anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you pick up the telephone. I mean,
yeah. Well, interesting. We've learned a new lesson here. Your dad must be pissed. Okay. So I'm gonna take Treylon. I think I'm gonna take Treylon. I'm gonna draft him. They have some additional analysis here. I'm gonna take Treylon. I think he's got, looking at his grades, 82 went up to an 85. Olave 83, 79. Right, so he's dropped 85, 83, 70. He's gone down in the PFF grade. Jameson, nothing, bam. Treylon, he's the only guy with 67, 82, 85. He's continuing to improve year over year. I like him. Let's take him.
There's your new wide receiver.
We have our wide receiver, guys. The Ravens go with a tackle. We got a corner. We got an edge. We got a corner. We got a linebacker. Did they go? They went Olave.
Yep, and that was the mock today.
Steelers go Sam Howell. I think that's a bit of a stretch, honestly. I think Sam Howell's not going to be good. I've seen enough Sam Howell in college to know, like, he's not a game changer. He's not a first round pick.
I feel like Jameson, the Patriots would take a shot at him here at 21.
He may. That's a good. Put him with Mac Wilson or Mac Jones.
Yeah.
No, they said screw you, Mac Jones.
Wow, they went with Dodson.
They said Mac Jones. We don't like that knee. Now it's getting interesting. Now we might want to be coming into a position where, I mean, I think it would cost me a lot. Actually, I don't even think I can. Can I even make? I can't even trade.
Can't even trade back in.
I got nothing unless I force it. I can't even force a trade.
Where's he going to go?
I guess I could force a trade.
I don't see him dropping out of.
There he is. He goes to 23 to the Cardinals.
Wow. They don't need another receiver.
Well, in this world, they do.
Can you imagine? So Hopkins, Kirk, Green, Williams. Too many cooks.
Corner. Oh, there. Hold on a second. We had a quarterback who went. Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati goes in the first round to the Bills. They're not taking a first round quarterback.
No, this is bogus.
There's some shenanigans in here.
There really are.
There's no way they're taking a first round quarterback. If they took a quarterback, it'd be in like the 6th.
I feel like Bill Belichick is behind this. Like he's the simulator in his hoodie.
We're in crazy town now. Okay, guard. Edge. There's your Malik Willis, which That's not a terrible home for him in Detroit,
No.
right? I could see that happening. And since I cannot trade, we're going to continue on. Those damn Chargers. They were like, no. And you know what? And the final one slammed the phone down and said, do not call us again. We'll call you.
But you know what? The story writes itself because you get the kid and he's dynamic and he resurrects Baker's career.
Carson Strong going to New York Giants in the second round. That I feel like would be
not
surprise.
Happening. Yeah.
To say the least.
We don't even know who their GM is yet.
Yeah.
Or their coach for that
The
matter.
Jets grab a linebacker. We got a tackle for Chicago. I can see that. Edge rusher out of Penn State. Edge rusher out of Florida State.
Wow. Devin Lloyd didn't go until 38. That's wild. I think he'll be a first round lock.
Football team takes an edge. Interior. That's the first interior guy I've seen in a long time. And we're back on the clock. So now, can we trade now? Oh, we can offer trades again.
Who do we have in the interior D lineman at this point?
That's a good question. Let's find out. DI. Devontae Wyatt, who is ranked 37. So he's actually an interesting guy. Because look, it goes from 37 to like 68.
Yeah. That could be a steal right there.
That could be a big pick. So I've got my eye on Devontae Wyatt, who I also want to take a look at, as you did, is offensive tackle. So Vallely is there at 39.
That's your new best friend.
The big guy. Max Mitchell, Travis Jones. But then now we're driving. So really, the guys who we have in play now in the positions of need is Devontae Wyatt and Daniel Vallely.
I'm thinking, if you asked me, I think you'd have to go defensive lineman where we're at.
I think with him there, I'm gonna see if I can just pick up his show more. His average draft position has been tracking upwards too, so people are starting to learn about him.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, and then you've got Vallely, who is like dropping. He's going the opposite way. So yeah, I mean, Wyatt is the single best get off of any defensive tackle in the draft class. Okay, you're selling me now here, PFF. He's finally put it all together as a senior to make serious impact in Georgia's defensive line, who is impressive, national champion, ring-bearing Georgia Bulldogs. Wyatt went from a 72.9 to an 89.8.
So that tells you he hasn't reached the ceiling yet.
He's a big guy too. Usually defensive interior guys are smaller, 6'3", 315.
Yeah, run clogger.
Not getting a ton of sacks, but you don't really do that. Interior guy.
But
runs
to our point
runs
earlier,
a lot of B gap.
If you've got Miles and Clowney on the outside and they're getting doubled, then you find out what this kid's made of. Maybe he can sack. You know what I mean? Maybe he can rush the quarterback.
I'm telling you right now, I'm liking Devontae a lot here at 45.
I think you got to pull the trigger.
Let's ask the chat. Chat, are we good on with Devontae Wyatt? First person who says yes or no, we're gonna go with.
They're like, pick them. We want to go to bed.
The Georgia defense was nasty. Yes, stop it. Nobody's saying yes or no, but there's a little bit of delay. Pressure says double down on wide receiver. Jordan says yeah. Oh, yes. Here we go. Cruise ops, yes. let's before we do it, let's look at wide receiver.
I don't think there's anybody out there that's worthy of 49.
Sky Moore.
Or 45, rather.
Sky Moore is the guy who runs the 4.2, but he's 5'10".
Yeah, I mean, we have that guy, and he got our quarterback killed.
Yeah, I'm not buying Sky Moore. I do like Justin Ross, though. And I like Menchie. But I think they're there. I think David Bell's there.
Yeah, I mean, George Pickens is one that really intrigues me, to be quite honest with you.
Is he related to the other Pickens?
That I don't know, but
was it Carl Pickens?
He had a knee last year, and
he's also dropping in PFF grade.
Yeah, and then he came back and he had a nice game in the national championship game. I mean, if you could get that kid like down lower in this round, third round, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I mean, he had a huge PFF grade season. Man,
yeah,
he's did well. But let's go ahead and take Devontae.
Let's do it.
I'm okay with that. It would wrap up our draft unless I could trade. I was thinking, like, can I trade back? But there's nobody I can really trade back because there's no multiple picks here. Right. So, and if I move one more pick, I think Devontae is going to be gone. I think there's a good chance that he gets snagged because of where he is and where we're picking. So I don't think he's not going to last till like 52.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go ahead and take Devontae. I'm happy with those two picks. The Ravens go Pickens. They went up to grab him.
There you go.
McBride, the tight end. There goes Falele, 49. Tackle. Brandon Smith, the linebacker. Zion Johnson, the guard. Brisker. There's the tackle out of Ohio State going 53. Bell's gone. Ross is gone. Is Sky Moore still there? I think Sky's still available. Didn't we had a close look at this Majai Sanders? Majai Sanders is the guy we drafted last draft, right?
Yeah, the edge from Cincy.
Yeah. So
yep.
he was gone at 60. Tampa. Surprised Tampa didn't go quarterback in this draft.
Here's what's funny though, is
that's it.
One week, right? 1 week of shenanigans, and we weren't even. I'm sure that Sanders was probably still there at 45, but it wasn't even edge wasn't even in our mindset because we knew that now we're down an interior D lineman. So what I mean?
And that's why I think this is important. And make sure that you write this down too, Mike.
Yep,
in terms of, so this is the mock is complete here. We are, and I got to tell you, in terms of last week to this week, I'm liking this one. I think this is a little bit more interesting to me.
I would agree, and I don't want to.
I'm not saying I'm not shitting on your draft last week because I was right there with you.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you.
I'm buying this draft.
Yeah, like I'm comfortable with this draft. Like if this is how it went, I'm two very big needs and two very, very good players. You didn't fall into that trap of you just drafted for need and it didn't matter that they weren't the creme de la creme. Like you arguably got
two guys who could have been. They could turn out to be the two best guys in the draft.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that there's a scenario. I mean, if we're starting to see Drake London go, at 5 or 6, I mean, there's no reason why you can't interchange London with Burke. So
I mean, I'm telling you this, and I was a little bit heartbroken when the Jets took him at 10 because I was full on sold. I'm taking Drake London. That was my guy all day, and I'm sitting there this morning in the car, and I'm like, listening to Sarah of Atlantis and 17 Squabble Lane talk about how they love the win, and I'm like, this is great. This is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna take Drake London. We're gonna get a 6'5" receiver. Blah blah blah. And then boom, he's gone, and I'm like, okay. Plan B.
I'll tell you this.
And Treylon honestly is plan B. He's like the tweener in between Olave and London. He's right size-wise, right in between. Actually, bigger, like thickness-wise.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like I could see him being like a Daryl Boston type guy.
There's a blast from the past. You know, what's interesting, and it means nothing to anybody, but if it went down that way, I mean, you set up Zach Wilson. I mean, you got Elijah Moore, and then you bring on Drake London. Like, I mean, all of a sudden now there's no excuse. You pick up a solid tight end in the second round, and that offense is off and running, because I like Michael Carter in the backfield.
Daryl Boston, the baseball player I was referring to as well, 6'3", big, strong dude.
Yeah.
I'm liking the Treylon Burks. I'm selling myself. You know, I think we both sold ourselves a little bit today. That, you know, if the thing is here, I think we have a really athletic, hyper athletic wide receiver in Peoples-Jones. I think he proved himself. He is definitely an NFL wide receiver. I think so. Is he a number 1 or 2?
I lean in 2.
Yeah, I think I think the conversation more, is he a 2 or 3?
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that.
Could he step up to be the number 2 that we need, or is he going to be the number 3, and is that going to be his role? Because Higgins, coming into this year, I thought Higgins was the 3, and then Peoples-Jones was 4, and then Schwartz and everybody else was fighting for the rest. Yeah. But Peoples-Jones stepped up and was a solid 2. We just didn't have that threat number 1. And I think, if you pick Olave there, does Olave, the day he steps on the field, does he scare a team that they have to account for him wherever he is?
Right.
You know, Odell Beckham's not 6'3", 225, and they have to account for him. But in the NFL, size matters. And I think big wide receivers are good. And I think out of the guys that are big, that you would consider to be big, it's really just London and Burks. You know, again, going back to the top picks, Justin Ross is there at 6'4", but he's 4'6", and you know, if you look at his scouting report, it's like he kind of never quite, you know, hit his potential there in Clemson. At Clemson, being like the guy other than his freshman year. So then, if you really look at it, you know, you could make an argument that you can get like a poor man's Treylon Burks with like a George Pickens, poor man's version of it, 6'3", 200, 4.59. But
Pickens is good. He just had the ACL.
Mm-hmm. So you look at it, I would have honestly liked to have gotten 3 picks like you had with the Chargers. I would have liked that, because then I think we could have shored up wide receiver, defensive line, and possibly even offensive line. But we definitely would have been able to grab a second receiver. And imagine if we had a 1. Imagine if we got a Treylon Burks at 1, Devontae Wyatt at 2, and then in the back of the second round or early third, we pulled Sky Moore, 195, 5'10", 424.
Like that speed.
So now we have a guy who could possibly be a number 1. We've got a guy who could be a slot guy, speedy slot guy at number 2, who's just got tremendous upside. And you sure up. I mean, that I think is a slam dunk. So anyway, rounding out the draft, and we're well past 9. So it's getting to be my bedtime, because I've been getting up at 5:30 every morning for God, I think it's like 22 straight days now. Well, 22 straight workout days. Not every
Early
day.
bird
I
gets the
haven't
worm.
gotten up at 5:30 every time, but my goal is that when I come back to Cleveland next year for the next game, whether it's opening day or whether it's mid-season or late season, probably going to be early season though. I want to be at my high school playing weight.
Well, there you go.
Which was, I think my high school playing weight was like 162. Right. Freshman year, I entered high school at like 145, 162. I think it ended up.
So we're gonna get a lean, mean Mike.
Oh, I'm not gonna be like abbed out, like cut.
Yeah.
But I'll be, I won't be like, punchy.
Like we're not gonna see you like walking into town with a mesh half shirt or anything like that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I would. I'm not saying it's not possible, right? But yeah, so I want to be in really good shape, and I'm working towards that. So I got to get up early. So we got to call it. We've been at it for about 2 hours. Thank you again to everybody, everybody here. I know we picked up a new, member of the team here.
Yeah,
that would be our 19th. Is not showing us. So Blake Vasco is now a new member. Larry and Chubba Wubba Hub are back. They're plugged in, dialed in. I'm just giving a shout out to everybody who's kind of with us here at the end. Wino Forever, the Deepening podcast. Tim Zaylor, Pressure Jones. I think Sarah was still here. Wolfstan, Cruise Op, Chubba Wubba Hub, Jordan K. All you guys. Kevin Stefanski. All you guys, Mike R, everybody. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. Hope you guys liked any Casey Anthony sightings in Orlando. No, but you know what? One thing is really funny. This is the last thing I'll leave you on. So the whole Casey Anthony thing happened in the Lee Vista area of Orlando, which is about from where it's on my neck of the woods. It's east side, but it's about now probably 20 minutes because we have stupid traffic now because a ton of people moved to where I am. But when we first moved to Orlando, which is just after the Casey Anthony thing, like literally just maybe 3 years after it all ended, we found a private nanny. So we had my son was in like VPK, which is like when you're like 4 years old. And my daughter, who was 2 years younger, we wanted to have personal care, right? So we're looking around and we're at Dunkin' Donuts in the morning here in our area, and we saw people that had young kids. And so we just kind of tapped and we're like, hey, we're new here. And do you have any recommendations on the daycares that are around? And they were like, sorry, we don't. We actually take our daughter, who's my son's age. She gets watched by a private lady, so we don't mess around with the daycares. We just take her to this lady. And we're like, oh wow. Like, do you think she would take another kid? Or do you think she would take another kid or whatnot? And they were like, I don't know. We'll ping you and let you know. And so we gave them our number. We didn't take their number. We gave them ours, and we didn't hear back for weeks. Like it must have been 6 weeks. We didn't hear back. And we're like, well, I guess that's not going to happen. And by that point, my wife is moving up here to Orlando and all this stuff. And then bam, we get a thing. Hey, I'm so sorry. We meant to text you. We actually asked the lady and she said, yes, she does have an open spot and she would take your daughter if you'd be willing to do that. And we said, okay, we'll interview her. We'll meet her and see if anything. And she was very nice. She's an older lady, and very, very nice. And we had a recommendation from somebody else that we trusted, who's these, people that we met at Dunkin' Donuts who just seemed like they could be trustworthy people. And so we said, okay, I think this is going to work out. So we had, my daughter with her for a little while. And then, the VPK was just a disaster that we had our son at. So at one point, it was a Primrose school. Did you ever hear of Primrose? It's like a private, little kids daycare thing. And he kept getting sick all the time because like there was too many kids around and blah blah blah. So we ended up asking her if she would take him too. So she had like 3 kids then. Now at this point, now with her, and then their kids got a little bit older. And anyway, long story short, it was fine. The purpose of the story, and it's a long story, but the purpose of the story is she lived in the Lee Vista area and lived on the street.
Oh,
so
boy.
On the street where Casey Anthony's parents lived.
Wow.
So it was kind of, there's a main road that went right through the center, and then it had like a circle that went on one side of the street was like a half a circle, and then the other side half a circle, and there were houses that were around it. So the woods where they found the kid.
Oh, we're
was
right
like
there.
Literally right there. And so when I was like, yeah, somewhere around Lee Vista. I'm like, this right here. This is the vet where we took Mookie a couple weeks ago. It was the Lee Vista Animal Hospital right there. So I drove past. I was like, oh my God, that's her parents' house. It was literally a stone's throw, a really strong stone throw. You know, if I had to warm up that arm again, right? But a stone's throw nonetheless from where my kids were in daycare.
Did you see Tim said his baby was watched by Zanny the nanny?
Yes, Mike. You are not. You're not. I'm not lying. What did he say? My baby was Zanny the nanny. What's Zanny the nanny? Zanny?
That's Casey Anthony, isn't it?
Nanny Zanny? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was her nickname, wasn't it?
My baby was with Zanny the nanny. I don't know. I don't know what Zanny the Tim. You got to let us know. You see Casey's Pet Cemetery. So this our podcast went a little dark.
It did go dark.
Every once in a while, it gets dark though.
It does.
You know, we keep it right on that line.
Shake it up, shake it out, shake it up, shake it out. Right, that song. It gets dark before the light or whatever that tune is.
If I ever had to do if anybody ever came down to Orlando and we had like a Brownie post game meetup, we could do like a Brownie post game podcast tour like they do in like major city, like a ghost tour. But like, okay, well here's where my kids were in daycare in Casey Anthony's neighborhood, and we're gonna take the tour bus over there next, and then we're gonna move around, all over here in Orlando. I think it would be cool, honestly, though, like if for one of the games that we do, that we're both in town in Cleveland, if we did a meetup, a Brownie post game meetup, like let's say we both stayed at the Marriott.
Yeah.
You guys are Hilton people, but you switch every once in a while. You'll go to the Marriott, right?
The Cincinnati game was going to be the Marriott. That was going to be our first
trip into the dark side of the Marriott.
Yeah, that was the cherry trip.
Zanita Gonzalez. Why does that name sound familiar? Zanita Gonzalez. I'm gonna have to Google it.
Yeah, we're going down a hole here. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, so basically I would like to do a Brownie post game meetup. Some, even if it's just one person shows up.
That'd be, and I think we'd get more than that, I think.
Yeah, maybe if we're just hanging out the day we fly in. Maybe if we came in on Saturday, then maybe Saturday night we did at the lobby bar or something like that. We were all kind of hanging out, chit chatting, and taking pictures. Cool. So I think it'd be a lot of fun. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Appreciate you all. Thank you for no super chats today, but we definitely got the new members that are kicking it back in. So
yeah,
appreciate you all. Tim, thank you very much. I'm gonna have to do some Googling. I hope you guys are happy with the mock draft, the mock draft 2.0. It goes back to Mike next week.
Yeah,
so
I'm ready.
Mike is officially back on the clock, and we'll see where the chips fall. Maybe London starts falling in the draft. Who knows?
That's a movie.
Now that we know the Chargers, they were wheeling and dealing last week. They are not willing to wheel and deal this week, to the point where they shut me off. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next week. Go Browns.
See you guys. Go Browns.